So I'll give you guys. I really haven't talked about this, but I'll tell you guys what's going on with Nick. So he went into that fight, and his neck was pretty messed up. Robbie's a great tough fighter and everything, and Nick was doing great, and then you kind of see Nick kind of fading as the fight wore on. So Nick had an operation very recently here.
Oh, wow.
7 weeks ago. So he had two of the discs had ruptured in his neck before the fight. So he was having numbness of the hands. That's why he didn't make the 170. He fought at 185. He just couldn't. It was impossible to train. He just didn't have any strength. He didn't have what you're used to, the Nick Diaz. He just didn't have it. So we were able to go, and he got an operation, and he put the titanium discs in his neck. So he's feeling great from that right now, and it's like we're getting the old Nick back, which is really good. So now that that's happened, we're waiting for the doctors. He's got another appointment, I think, in next month, and then he should be cleared to start his hard training again. Because right now he can only run and hit the pads and everything. But he definitely wants to fight. And the UFC, I've been in contact with them. They just actually called me the other day asking about Nick, and there's some pretty cool fight options that are in front of us.
Man, I had a couple of surgeries in the last couple of months, but those are absolute Mickey Mouse compared to what Nick had with the neck. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, like, why fight through something like that when it's that bad? Why even fight Robbie Lawler?
It was kind of a tough situation. Nick hadn't fought in years, and there was just a lot of weird stuff going on in his life. He had, me and him, Stockton, the whole Northern California thing. Well, he had kind of moved to Los Angeles, Vegas, and everything.
Mm.
Probably got wrapped up with people he shouldn't have been getting wrapped up with. People that, he's a simple guy. If people, hey, I'm your friend, that type of thing. It's that story. You can kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit. And I think that's what happened with Nick. So we had to bring him back up. And this fight, when I came into it, had already been set. It was like, hey, this is the fight, and this is what's going to happen. It's Robbie Lawler. And I think they wanted him to fight Hamzat back also, which was kind of weird because we didn't even know who that guy was. So it was like, well, who is that? The fans don't really know him. I think he had like three or four fights or something. So then what happened was, okay, well, you know what? Basically Nick was like, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose to Robbie Lawler because he respects Robbie Lawler. And that's why after the fight, he said, I think I probably had that coming. It was just like, if you're going to lose, you lose to a veteran, a warrior, a guy that Nick had to pretty much take that fight. There was a lot of things weighing in on him. What people don't know is that the commission in Vegas was still demanding their money that from remember the marijuana test that he didn't pass.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a new thing for you guys too, but even though it's legal, they said you still owe us that $75,000, I think, or what was some insane amount. It was like, what? You still have to pay it, even though it's legal now. When that happened, it wasn't, and so you're gonna have to deduct it from your fight purse, and Nick really hadn't signed the best contract in the world, and so what happened was they said, we'll pay you more money, but you have to fight this fight here, okay, and on this date, or that. It was the thing. It was like, if you don't take that fight, you're almost going to fight for free. Mm-hmm. By the time, obviously people, that's not a secret. He had some tax issues in the past. Mm-hmm. He had to pay that fine, which it was just you had to do it. It was like, well, Nick, he had his back on the wall, and it was one of those unfortunate things where he had to fight, and that's it, and that's what happened. It was one of those things in life, and he manned up and he did it. He looked great that first round, part of the second. And then you started, I mean, he did better than I thought he was going to do, because literally, I can tell you Nick's training, he probably, before, the guy who trains daily like a maniac, he runs triathlons, and I would take him to the gym and he'd do a little thing, goes, I can't. And he, he's a man, I never knew what was that wrong with him, So after the fight and everything, we kept looking for what's going on, because he passed his pre-fight stuff. And finally we got these MRIs on his neck, and the guy is like, the doctor said, look, I cannot believe you just fought. You shouldn't be walking. It was like, this is insane. These guys were so the UFC did on his insurance thing, whatever they paid for his operation. He went to the same place where I think Ozzy Osbourne, the singer, just had it rated on. He went to the same place in Los Angeles.
Nice.
Yeah, and got that operation, and they took out the old discs, 2 of them. They cut you in the neck right here. They go in, they pulled out the disc, they put titanium discs in, and now the bone has to fuse with that, and it's a process. There's been a couple of fighters actually that have had that operation. Usually it's 1 disc. Nick had 2. So that's why he fought, hurt, and he had his back up against the wall. And it is what it is. So.
First of all, Cesar, appreciate you telling us that. That's really good to know, and it's good because obviously, like, in the lead up to the Robbie Lawler fight, obviously Nick was saying that he didn't want to be there and he didn't want to be fighting. So it had people very, very puzzled and wondering, like, why is that? What is the motivation now for him to fight? Like, have all the taxes and debts been cleared? I guess a lot of people will be wondering, all right, what is this pre-fight lead up going to look like? Yeah.
So Nick is, his thing isn't so much the fighting, like I think he's even done interviews where he doesn't like the fight game, if you will. Nick's a martial artist. He loves competition. He's a martial artist, so he likes that part of it. He likes the part where he's in there and he's exchanging his skill and trying to beat the guy. That's who Nick is. But the stuff that comes with it, he just hates. Hey, you're going to have to go fly and do this interview, and like with the GSP thing, when he had to, he didn't go to Toronto or whatever. It was a media day. There were no fans there. It's like, you have to go talk to some reporters in Toronto, I think it was. And he's like, I'm not going to go. They can call me, if they want to talk. He hates that type of stuff. But he does enjoy competing. He does enjoy being a martial artist. And if he can do things on his terms like that, then he loves it. And and so that's where he's at. And so he does want to fight again. He feels like, especially now, I think he feels like he has something to prove. So that's why, for me, I don't care if he ever fights again. It's like, hey man, go, because he's an amazing teacher. There's all kinds of stuff he can do. But he wants to do it for him. So that's where we're at.